welcome back to another episode of Maria B TV. I am Maria B, the fitness doctor, and I am here to help you take back your life. In the news today, there's an article that CNN put out, and the topic of that article is fatty foods may cause what? Cocaine-like addiction. So, remember how I called some of you all crack addicts and said that food was like, you know, an addiction, and it's like walking around and when someone takes certain foods away from you, like that sugar topic we talked about, it's like walking around like a crack addict going through withdrawals. Well, guess what? Now we have scientists who have finally kind of just come out of their closet and decided to put the research out there that they have determined that, you know, fatty foods may cause cocaine-like addiction. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Number one, there's a study that found brains of rats. They used rats that gorged on human fatty foods that caused a change. Okay. Now, this is what really got me, and I thought it was just really funny because I said, you know what, I need that at their job as a part-time job because this is what the big discovery is, okay? Scientists have finally confirmed that bacon, cheesecake, and other fattening foods may be addictive. Whoa! Oh my God, are you kidding me? They just discovered it and they've confirmed it. Oh my God! What a discovery. I need that job because if they're just now discovering and confirming that bacon, cheesecake, and other fattening foods may be addictive, you know what? I think that we're way behind times, and maybe if we had better scientists, then maybe so many of us wouldn't be struggling with the health issues that we're having. Now, these foods affect your brain the same way as cocaine and heroin, or is it heroin, whichever one you choose. Our grandmama say heroin, that boy on that heroin. But there's some people who call it heroin. Okay, they found that these rats gradually developed a tolerance to the pleasure of food. And they, the food that they gave them, that they had to eat, they experienced a high from this food. And these rats became very obese, obviously, off of these foods. But the other thing that happened with them is when they tried to stop them from eating those fattening foods, they just wouldn't stop. They wouldn't go to the alternative of what they typically would want to eat. So the scientists had to do what? They had to apply an electric shock to their feet. Now, could you imagine that? Do you think that's where we are, where we need to start shocking people to stop them from eating? You know, come into this clinic and get a shock to stop you from eating. Is that where we are? They had to apply an electric shock in order to scare them away. But these were for the rats who weren't quite obese yet. The rats who were obese didn't care about the shock. They still went after the food. This was an experiment that they went through. Now, they're contributing this addiction to, there is a neurotransmitter in your brain called dopamine. Now I actually know and understand where dopamine, the word dope, has come from. It's called dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter that actually declines. Okay, and what happens is, what this neurotransmitter called dopamine does is it affects the brain in order for it to process. So in other words, you've got things that kind of like tell you to do certain things, and this neurotransmitter, dopamine, tells your brain to move. It tells your brain to have an emotional response. Ah! That was dopamine. It was up high. That's why I did that. And it also gives you the ability to experience pleasure and pain. Now, let's think about that for a second. Let's marinate on that. If dopamine is a neurotransmitter that tells your brain to feel, to move, to do different things, when you gorge yourself on fattening foods that causes your dopamine in your brain cells to decline, you really don't have a whole lot of movement. So it makes you kind of sit around, not want to do anything. When you talk about, you know, for us black folks, we call it niggeritis, when that sets in, or when you become very sleepy, especially when it comes to fattening foods and you just don't have the energy to want to do anything. One of the problems or challenges with people getting motivated to begin exercising is the fact that there is this neurotransmitter that declines, and it causes the addiction that we begin to have over foods, and you continue to gorge yourself and gorge yourself and gorge yourself and gorge yourself and want more like a crackhead. You be scratching, and then your lips gonna be all white one day walking around, you know, and we're not gonna be able to tell whether you cracked out or it's a food addiction. Either way, it still has some of the same symptoms. And I make a joke about this because we can all laugh about it. We've all been there, right? Where it's just something that we're craving. There's information out there that sometimes we just have to read and kind of marinate and logically apply it back to how that actually would be affecting us. So my job, for those of you who are just joining us, or for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, I am here to inform you, to enlighten you, to make some comedy off of it, but at the same time, apply the information in a manner that you'll be able to take it back and not just say, I heard that, but be able to understand how that will affect you in your everyday life.